Hello. I know, who am I and where have I been for over a year on my YouTube channel? Um, I was going to jump right in and get back in to do a tarot deck review that I recently got, but something made me stop because it had been over a year. I have not been on here. I've been hiatus and I just want to do a checkup. A lot of things have happened in my life and I feel like I need to get it out there. So instead of doing, I'll record a couple of videos here because I do want to do the tarot deck review. I just sat down with it a little while ago and did a couple readings and I really like it. So we'll get into that in a minute, but right now this video is just going to be about me catching you guys up because so much has happened. uh I don't even know, I haven't even looked. I just got The Verge, I guess, The Push. A friend of mine recently told me that, something that I need to be doing on my YouTube channel is, doing reviews of things that I get, talking about everything that I do on my Instagram page, um, doing everything that I do, but with my face, which has always been something that I've struggled with. So here we go. 2022, Labor Day weekend, I wound up in the ER. Fast forward, I'm going to try and get through this. I'm going to try to go through a lot of this fairly quickly just because there has been a lot that has happened. So let me even rewind just a little bit further to kind of put into context. You guys know, like 2019, I started my my Instagram page under Gypsy Witch 72. It took off. I wanted to, at some point, to kind of revamp things. It started off as just sharing knowledge and tips and a lot of the years of me practicing and putting stuff out there. So at some point, I decided that I wanted to revamp an Etsy page and start selling some of my handmade stuff. That really wasn't where I wanted to sell. I just felt like it was very, very saturated. There was a lot of people selling on Etsy, and there still are, in my opinion, people selling on Etsy that they're not handmade items. They're items that you can get wholesale. They're items that you can get, even off of Amazon, and people are selling it on Etsy. So I didn't want to fall into the muck of that. So I had decided at some point to break off, and maybe in 2021, because I don't even think I was on Etsy a year, and I wanted to break off, have my own website, and start everything there. So I opened up my website, I revamped everything. I left Gypsy Witch behind and I went to what I am now today, Crystal Moon Witchery. It has been a journey, a really crazy and scary journey. So we all had the pandemic hit in 2020, and that was like, I did pretty well online just because everybody was shopping online. We couldn't go in anywhere and get anything in person. So I did pretty well there, which was fine. I ran out of my home. I had sorry, my allergies really suck. So if I'm rubbing my nose a lot, it's because of that. So I had revamped like a whole room in my house that I was using as kind of my online store. I did really well during COVID, and as things started letting up, I was looking for a physical location. I wanted the physical presence. I was kind of deathly afraid because I am like very much an introvert. I don't go out. I don't hang out. I don't go to house parties. I've never been that kind of person to, you know, to do that a lot. So get together with family, even that's a stretch and depends. I'll get together for the holidays and stuff, but that's about it. I'm very much a loner. I enjoy being home. Like, this is where 90% of our income goes, is in our house. So of course this is where I feel comfortable and where I was happy. So COVID was really just a vacation for me. I was home in my happy spot and everything was great. So I've had an adjusting business that I've ran for over 20 years, probably 23 years, an independent insurance adjusting business. I bought it in 2015, I want to say 2017, from the gentleman that I was partners with. And of course, nobody had any plans that COVID was going to hit. We were doing fairly well, and COVID wreaked havoc. So staying home, the first year did pretty good. Then it was COVID started catching up. COVID started, running into the adjusting business, and we started losing business. Things started going, of course, more online, because why not? Everything survived online during COVID. Why would you need somebody in person to come out and look at a loss? So in a way, I was glad that I had started this little side thing online with, building this online presence, because little did I know where this was going to take me. So COVID starts letting go, and the end of 2021, I really kind of had the initiative to look for a brick and mortar. I wanted a physical location. I didn't want anything big. And it was really hard trying to find something that wasn't 1,500 square feet. I'm starting out. I don't want something huge. I need something small that I can start in and work from there. So, funny story, I just happened to run into my neighbors. They are no longer my neighbors, which is sad and a different story, but I'd ran into my neighbors one day walking, and I just, for some reason, made me pull over and say, hey, if you guys know of anybody or have a place anywhere that is for rent, like, let me know. Like, they knew I was doing things online. They knew what I was trying to do. So I really wanted to get that physical presence going. So I just told them, hey, if you know of any place or you know of anybody, let me know. I want to say it was literally within a week. And this was probably January, February, probably February. They told me, hey, where we have some art space, there is some retail space for rent. So I was ecstatic. I asked her when I could come down. I wanted to see the property and, get this thing going. So I went down, I met with them. I ended up in a little less than 200 square feet. I started out very small. In February, end of February, my official grand opening or opening date wasn't till mid-March, but end of February, I kind of did like a little soft opening thing. I was open. It's really cool. It's very, it was art studio space. So, but they are a nonprofit, and they are, we could do retail. So it really was like a blessing in disguise. Like, things happened for a reason. So I was there for a month. Then there was actually a door between my studio, or my little retail space, and another person's studio. Well, they were getting ready to move. I jumped on the space because there was a door that connected the two, that I could expand my store without actually moving out of the first location. So I did that the following month, and probably April, I expanded. I had a little less than 500 square foot, or right around 500 square foot. I'm going to say like 475 for about a year. And I was growing and doing lots of things, trying to get my Reiki, get clients in, but it kind of sucked because I had a location where I didn't have a separate space for my Reiki. So if someone wanted a Reiki session, I had to shut down that half of the store. Like, I could have my mom. She's my biggest supporter. She's my partner in crime and has been there so much from like day one of opening here. And my husband, like, he's backed me 100% through all of this. Even though I'm never home, it seems like, anymore, but we'll get to that. So my mom would run the front part while I was in the back doing Reiki sessions. And I did that for about a year. So fast forward to the end of 2022. The main part in the building where you walked in, I had two little side rooms. The main retail spot was a used art supply store, and they closed down in December of 2022. So come March of 2023, last year, I got the opportunity to expand. But I want to back up a little bit here, and I want to get back to where I'm going. I got going too far on my first story. So back it up to 2022 when I opened. I opened, like I said, in February. March, I had every single thing in there. I had that front little room filled. April, I started having serious issues with like acid reflux. I was having a lot of problems. And I told my husband, like, we'd get together on Fridays, just me and my husband, hang out at the house, have some beer. I'd have seltzer water, or but I'd have a few drinks and hang out and laugh, and we'd listen to the radio. And it got to the point that I couldn't have one seltzer drink, one Corona, one beer, and I started having really bad stomach issues and really bad acid reflux. So in April of 2021, I cut out alcohol. I guess I had been trying up to that point, fighting it, wondering what was going on. So April, 2021, I cut out alcohol. All that summer, I fought. I went to the doctor a couple of times. They had diagnosed me with either gastritis or GERD. They had given me Pepcid, like a prescription Pepcid, and sulfate, I think, for your stomach to calm everything down. And I think I got like maybe a month's relief, and it wasn't even total relief, it just helped. So of course I'm going back, and they are just saying nothing. They're not giving me answers, and they're not telling me what I need to do. So midsummer, probably July, I got to the point where like I felt something was wrong. Something was wrong with my stomach. So I still fought through it. And Labor Day weekend, the end of August 2021, I wound up in the ER. I was so miserable. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't eat. Something was wrong. My stomach was so bloated. So I told my husband that morning. I had one of my best friends out visiting that weekend, which was another blessing in disguise. I told my husband that morning, please just take me to the ER and drop me off. And he did. And he went to work, and he didn't want to. Believe me, he didn't want to. But I said, don't worry about it. My friend was here. She had my car. She can come and get me later if she needed to. Just drop me off at the hospital. So I did. I went to the ER. I was glad there was nobody there. Of course, I complain about abdominal issues, and right away they're like, are you pregnant? No, I've been on birth control most of my life, so I better not be pregnant. So they got me in, and they did a CT scan, and, felt around my abdomen, blood work, urinalysis, all that great stuff of getting in there. And I didn't really know. They had seen something on the CT scan, so they admitted me. And I stayed overnight. The next morning, I had an oncologist come in to talk to me, to tell me that they thought I had metastasized ovarian cancer. I had fluid in my stomach that they needed to tap and drain and test for cancer. That was absolutely miserable. They had me on antibiotics, which I think were taking down the fluid in my abdomen. So by the next morning, when they wanted to do that paracentesis, which is tapping that abdominal wall to drain it, it was getting to the point that there wasn't a lot of fluid left. So it was right up against my liver, and there was that scare of going in there and poking my liver. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So they tested the fluid and there was no cancer cells in the fluid. So I was like, okay, well, then what? They discharged me the next day, later that day, and they told me to just follow up. I had an appointment set out, I don't know, a week or so, and I was going to follow up with my oncologist. And life had other issues to throw in my face because literally 2 days after I got out of the ER, I went to bed one night with what I felt was a lump on my breast. And it was probably 2 days after I was in the ER. And I woke up the next morning and I took a shower and I said, there's no way. This is deformed. This doesn't look right. And I could feel it. So I called my oncologist and I said, hey, this is what's going on. They had me scheduled to go see a specialist up in Springs. So they kind of sped that up. After I went into the oncologist, I had the nurse check me out. She says, oh yeah, no, we need to get you up to Springs. So I went up to Springs to a gynecological specialist who was going to do the investigation side part of what they thought was ovarian cancer. So I get up there and she's going through and she's talking and she's telling me, this isn't right. I was 42 and they said, have you had a mammogram? I said, I'm barely into my 40s. I was getting to that point of needing to do that. And it was great because the breast cancer and the gynecological specialists were all on one floor. So she said, hey, I want to get you, if you can, I want to get you over and get you a mammogram. I said, okay. So I went over, got the mammogram, and they said they would get back to me. She held off on wanting to do anything until they got the results back from that. I went back in. They called me, of course, there was abnormalities. They wanted to do the ultrasound and a biopsy. I would not push a biopsy off on my worst enemy. That was the most painful, excruciating, fucked up appointment that I've had my entire life. And August was the first time I had ever been into the ER, ever in my entire life. So I go up for this biopsy or this ultrasound, and they do the ultrasound and they say, yeah, it looks like we've got some lymph nodes, and that lump. And even though it felt big on my breast, it wasn't big on the ultrasound. So of course, they biopsied several spots, and every time it was like one of those punches that you put nails into concrete that take the 22 shell. That was basically what they're doing with your boob, and they're biopsying these spots, and it's basically a needle slamming into it and taking these pieces. They did it 3 different spots, 7 times in each spot to get different material. So I had 2 spots on one side and another spot in the lymph nodes on the other side, because that was where they were showing the lymph nodes were infected or affected on that side. So that was a bloody massacre. It was terrible. It hurt. I was bruised for a month after that. But while I was there, she said, do you want me to check your abdomen? Do you feel like you're retaining fluid again? And it had been like a month since I'd been in there by the time I'd gone back up for the biopsy and stuff, since my initial thing in the ER. So I'm going to say like September. So she goes to do the ultrasound and she goes, yeah, you've got a little fluid in your abdomen. And I'm like, great, here we go again. So the ladies were absolutely amazing. They got me scheduled over to the hospital, the main hospital, to have another paracentesis, to drain the fluid off of my stomach. So, mind you, blood work, biopsy. Now I'm going to the hospital for the drainage. They took 3 liters, about 3.5 liters of fluid off my stomach. which was about 6 pounds. My mom freaked out. She was there with me. My husband had to work. We have pets. Like, I told him I would keep him in the loop. He came up that day before, no, not that day. I'm sorry. My mom was up there the whole day with me that day. Called me, checked on me. They got me over to the hospital and got that drained. It was freaky to watch my stomach just go down. It was so bloated. It went down 3.5 liters later, 6 pounds. I felt pretty good. I was hungry. I felt like I could actually eat. So, you know, my mom, I think I drove home. I think I drove home that time. So I drove home. No, maybe not. I don't remember. Anyway, I get home and I wanted to eat. So I tried to eat. That was the worst thing to do. That was the worst thing to do. My body was, I was so nauseated, so sick. I ate, it tasted great. I was up throwing up that night. I was up the next morning throwing up. I called the oncologist because I was sick, and they said because of the amount of fluid, all of your innards were smashed. Everything's trying to shift back to normal. So don't be surprised if you have upset stomach. I to this day think I damaged a muscle throwing up so hard. It was so bad. It was terrible. Meanwhile, you know, here I have the store, my store open for less than a year. And they come to tell me afterwards that where they thought it was ovarian cancer, it was not. It was stage 4 breast cancer. So I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer off the bat. I'd never had anything. I don't even really have anything in my family. So that was in September. Of course, they wanted to have the hysterectomy in September, but with these findings, they had to not do that. What I had was, it was in my abdominal wall. The cancer was growing in my abdominal wall. It was growing, of course, in the breast and the lymph nodes. I had some on my ovaries, and of course, it sounded like there was a tube going to my liver, like not on my liver yet, but it was like probably well on its way. So in October, I started oral chemo, just a chemo pill that treats for the estrogen and progesterone positive breast cancer. And I was on that until May of 2023, May the 4th. I will never forget that again, because it was Star Wars Day. I was scheduled for my hysterectomy. My first line of treatment dialed everything back. So I went and had my hysterectomy done. Full hysterectomy. They said, you know, they probably would suggest that rather than just the ovaries, just because a line of treatment that I may end up having to be on down the road could cause cervical cancer. So if they took everything out now, then I wouldn't have to worry about it. I said, yeah, it needs to be gone. So I had my hysterectomy in May of 2023. I was down at my store literally the next day, wrapped up. I didn't do much. I was sitting around, but I was down there the next day. My store is my healing space. Opening that up and having everything there, being able to heal others, it's my healing space. So after this diagnosis, you know, March 2023, I have the opportunity to move into that bigger space. I had to move out anyway. They were doing construction in the 2 rooms that I was in, so 90% of my stuff was out. I was so grateful that they were able to work with me on the rent and to let me stay out in this space, because now it's been a year and 2 months later that I've been out in this space, and it has been amazing. I have all my stuff in one area, which is a lot better to watch. I have an area for gatherings. I do new moon, full moon workshops. uh, gatherings, as well as a private room for my tarot readings and my Reiki and smoke cleansings. And, this is just, it's been amazing. It's been such a scary but amazing journey. And I was really terrified to be given that opportunity for this bigger area, knowing that I had just been diagnosed, knowing where life could lead me very quickly, but still wanting to do this. So, after the diagnosis, of course, talking to my oncologist, they said, I wouldn't recommend doing the adjusting anymore. Oh, and my bones. That's why. That's where I was going. It was in my bones everywhere. My bones look like Swiss cheese, like the whole lower extremities of my bones. I have more gray matter in there than I do white matter of my bones, at least the first CT scan. So that was where I was advised that I probably should not be climbing roofs for insurance adjusting. I should not be inspecting roofs. I should not be around mold or sewer backups doing insurance claims, because I am now what they consider immune compromised. And after months and years of doing this, I see why. The oral pills that I take tank my white blood cells, which will make me very anemic and very susceptible to catching so many things. So that has led me to really pursue my store and being in truly my happy place. It has been a journey to leave the adjusting. I am still in that process because I bought it out from the gentleman that I worked with for years, bought it out from him. I am still trying to make payments on it, even though it has, one, tanked because of COVID, two, tanked because I think of a corporate buyout, three, tanked because of my diagnosis and not being able to do a lot of things. So I'm in a pickle. I am hoping that things will go through this year and I can sell that business and get out from under it and get out from under the lien on my house that I have, because that is just looming death, it feels like. But right now I am just focusing on my store, and I'm trying to build where I see myself having my last job. But it is really my happy place. I have waited for a long time to try to do this, to put this out there, because I'm not a very vulnerable person online. I try to keep a lot of my private life private, but like this needs to get out there. I did monthly infusions. I did, like I said, I had my hysterectomy, so I didn't have to have the hormone shots. I don't even remember what the shot was called, but I have to have bone infusions to hopefully help strengthen the bones and not let the cancer continue eating my bone matter. I hurt all the time. They have me on a hormone blocker on top of having the hysterectomy. So in my 40s here, I've been slammed into menopause and chemically blocked from hormones, which wreak havoc on your body. If you have any idea what that feels like, or if you've taken any of those hormone blockers, then you know exactly what I'm going through. It is miserable. But the good news is I am still on my first line of treatment. I had amazing results right off the bat. Things dialed back. My bones seem to be getting better every CT scan that I get. I will have another one here in June. They do them every 5-6 months now. And yeah, This is where life has taken me. Uh, this is where I'm at. And YouTube, I wanted to do TikTok, but I couldn't. I just doesn't feel, there's so much drama and there's so much bullshit on TikTok. Like, I feel like YouTube is where I need to be, and this is where I need to be, you know? So yeah, here I am. I have not been this vulnerable for a while, or anywhere for that matter. I am doing what I can to stay afloat financially and with my business. The business is flourishing. I am absolutely in love with the connections that I've made locally, online. I recently got an email, and it's so screwy, what a stupid world we live in, that when I got this email, I really had to think about it and go, is this a scam? Is this someone trying to play on my heartstrings? Or I don't know, but I got an email here just yesterday, and I read it again today, that someone who is following the ins and outs of my journey, because it's not plastered all over everything. I don't advertise it. It's my journey. And when you find out how many people have cancer, join a support group. I have to kind of take my time. I step away from it at times because it can hurt rather than help. But it is a plethora of resources for finding people who are going through the same things that you are, because that is one thing that you will find is there were people that can relate to certain things about your journey, but nobody that can relate to everything. So that's where I'm at there. I love my store. I have started hosting events as of last year. That was one of the things that I wanted to do, was give other artists opportunities. I did my first fundraiser, donation-based fundraiser last year for our local spay and neuter clinic. I am a huge pet lover. If you hadn't noticed, I have my doggies, but I am a huge pet lover. So that is near and dear to my heart. And if I can help people out that way, I will. But yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. This is my life. This is this is the fill-in from my last video of everything that's gone on in my life. I mean, regardless of the diagnosis, it's not stopping me. I think because I get to heal, I get to be that conduit, and I get to help other people heal through, you know, conversations, Reiki, cleansings, tarot readings. Like, I'm that conduit, that stuff, everything draws through me. So while I'm healing others, I'm healing myself. Take it or leave it, you know. If you believe in that, great. If you don't, fine. But it's doing something. Me being in there and being in my store and being around all of these crystals and all of this wonderful healing stuff, I think is the motivation and the magic that I need to stay stable and stay positive and keep moving forward. So if you're new to my channel and you're just catching this video first, welcome, and you'll be seeing a lot more of me on my YouTube channel. So we will talk soon. Have a magical day.